So, good morning, Robotex. My name is Jacki Morie. Thank you for that introduction. I have the honor of speaking to you today about Towards an Exponential Future, which is a lot about what XPRIZE does. So, how do we get to an exponential future? Where does it start? Well, one thing we can say is that people have no idea how fast things are moving. Maybe you guys in the audience do, but generally, people have no idea that the future is coming at them faster and faster every day. What's driving this? Well, this man, Gordon Moore, was co-founder of Fairchild Semiconductors and Intel in the mid-20th century. And in 1965, he published an article in Electronics magazine, charmingly titled, "Cramming More Components onto Integrated Circuits," where he said that the number of transistors doubled every year between 1958 and 1965. His ideas have become codified as something we call Moore's Law. Now, Moore's Law goes way back to about 1958, and this is when Moore and his colleagues were researching how to put more transistors on an integrated circuit. So in 1958, we had two transistors. It was about a half-inch long, and the cost was about $400 or $500 per chip. By 1971, thank you. By 1971, Intel's 4004 chip had 2,300 transistors, and it was much, much smaller. And then, of course, the circuits that we have today have billions of transistors on them. So we are seeing these advances 80 times faster, lots cheaper, and there just seems to be no end in sight. Storage, too, is following this same trajectory. So in 1958, it might cost you $120,000 to have a 5 megabyte piece of storage. To 2005, when an SD card with 128 megabytes can be had for $99. And today, you can go down to the corner store and walk out with a terabyte of data for around that same price. So just exponentially going up in storage and in capacity, but down in cost. The change that we're talking about starts very slowly, so it can be very deceptive, until a critical point is reached, and that is a disruptive point, and that's where the exponential curve starts coming up. So we are at that disruptive stage right now. We are at the stage of an exponential future, where all of the costs are coming down, and what's going up is connectivity. So global connectivity is advancing rapidly. From this chart, we see that the exponential growth of computing didn't start just with integrated circuits, but goes all the way back to mechanical devices, back to the early United States Census that were done in 1890 and 1900. So this chart spans at least 5 different paradigms of computing, of which Moore's Law that we were talking about is just the latest. It's the 5th paradigm of computing. And before that, before we got to Moore's Law, where the exponential curve started, everything was slow and very deceptive. It didn't look like we were moving at all. But here we are. We're now moving on this exponential curve. Computer speed per cost has doubled every 3 years between 1910 and 1950, but every 2 years between 1950 and 1966. And now it's doubling every year. Exponential growth is actually itself exponential. Ray Kurzweil states that we can look forward to the 6th paradigm. The 6th paradigm is after Moore's Law, which is the 5th paradigm. When Moore's Law runs out of steam, it will be replaced by the 6th paradigm. And what is that? That's when we go from 2-dimensional chips to 3-dimensional ones that are more like how our brain functions. So the amount of capacity is going to change radically from a 2-dimensional to a 3-dimensional sort of form. And what this does is take us to a whole new realm. So there are technologies already in the wings that can build circuitry in 3 dimensions. So nanotubes, for example, which are already working in laboratories, can build circuits from pentagonal arrays of carbon atoms. 1 cubic inch of nanotube circuitry could be 1,000,000 times more powerful than the human brain. There are more than enough new technologies out there to really fuel this exponential growth, and some of them you can see here, from DNA computing to synthetic biology to matter compilers that can move matter around and actually form a chair out of matter for your display that you could sit on in a virtual world. So these things are coming. They're in the wings, and they're going to be getting better and better and getting to a point where we can use them very quickly because of this exponential growth. And what does this mean? This means we can expect a future of connectivity that is accelerating rapidly. 2 aspects of this acceleration I want to talk about a little bit today, and that is sensors and networks. So examples already for displays that we might see coming in the future: Bionic Eyes, DARPA's direct neural interface. It's a chip that would be shaped a little like a coin, around 1 centimeter wide, and cost as little as $10 and be something that you put in your eyes instead of wearing big bulky glasses. Or imagine hypersurfaces. These would be microscopic sensors widely distributed in the environment, in the floor, in your clothes. Everything would know what you were doing. You could touch your car, and it would recognize your gesture as the one that opens the door or starts the engine, if we still have cars by then. And even the brain, we could look to a future where we are able to connect the brain with sensors to the rest of the world, and maybe a novice could learn from an expert by some form of direct neural coupling. I think this is all coming in the near future. So connecting everyone on Earth, that's going to happen in less than 10 years. And there are a lot of people working on this already. So for example, Facebook has their, what is the name of it? Sorry. Internet.org. Very simple name. Sorry about that. So the Internet.org by Facebook is bringing the internet free to a number of countries where it hasn't been available before, and giving free basic internet services. So this has already brought another 100 million people online who would not have been there before. Google, of course, has Project Loon, which is the balloons that are deployed into space at a very low altitude that have directional antennas so that people can get that connectivity to users. And that's been tested in a few areas. And this summer, it became its own subsidiary company of Alphabet, Google's parent company. And then we have people like Richard Branson, Weiler, and Jacobs, who have OneWeb. Now, OneWeb is putting thousands of satellites out there to connect everybody. They're doing that at about 18 kilometers high, but it's, again, designed to connect everybody on Earth. Now, in November, just this month, SpaceX actually received approval to put another over 7,000 satellites up. And this is in addition to the 4,000 that they already had approval for. So SpaceX alone is planning on putting 1,100 satellites up in the air in the next couple of years. This is a lot of connectivity. It's actually amazing to think about. That's a lot of satellites. It's going to get crowded up there. Now, if all this connectivity works out, then essentially 100% of the global population is going to be connected. That's an amazing thing to think about. Because right now we're at about 66% of the global population connected. Now, what happens when we have 5 billion new minds connected? What is that going to do to us? Well, it's not just people being connected, it's also everything, everywhere, all the time. We're adding so many sensors today. We're adding them exponentially. By 2030, there will be 100 trillion sensors out there connected on Earth and beyond. Peter Diamandis says this will be a future of perfect knowledge, where you can know anything you want, anywhere, anytime. It'll just be there for your brain. Now, some people even say that this will be so disruptive that we may evolve into something other than human. We may become immortal. We may have machines that supersede us. So this idea of the singularity, where machines suddenly become smarter than man and can upgrade themselves, and what kind of future is that going to give us? Will the intelligence explosion we are undergoing now lead to a future where our machines take over? Well, I don't know, but that idea has been around for a while with Ray Kurzweil with the singularity, and even back in the early 90s, sci-fi author Werner Vinge had a book called The Technological Singularity, where he talked about this. So this is an idea that's been bubbling up. Will this happen? I don't know, but we're all going to be connected. Our evolution has taken us from our primate ancestors to a connected humanity to what lies beyond, whatever that is. We are rapidly moving into this new age of intelligence. From the first division of a human embryo to the 10 trillion cells that make up a human being, over the course of evolution, we have become intelligent. How did that happen? I don't think anybody knows exactly. And how this new connectivity is going to make us super intelligent, we don't know exactly. But it's going to happen. All of this connectivity of brains, minds, individuals, every human being on Earth connected, can hardly imagine what that's going to be. We do know that it will transform humanity, and that probably at the heart of it is going to be AI. So humanity is going to change. Artificial intelligence is there now. It's being totally integrated into our future. Already we have machines that can beat us at chess and at Jeopardy, so it's already changing even all of us. How many of you use personal assistants? So you're already in that artificial intelligence kind of revolution. And these assistants are just getting better and better and better. And eventually, I think they're going to be at the sci-fi level where you have something like Jarvis from Iron Man. We're all going to have those, maybe not in our pocket, maybe in our brains. So we are transforming the human race, and this is going to affect everything. It's going to affect how we raise and educate our kids. It's going to affect how we govern. It's going to affect our human being to human being connectivity. How do I relate to you as a human being when all this other intelligence is around us? It's going to change our employment, commerce, entertainment, environment, everything. And eventually, it's the launching pad for us becoming a multiplanetary species. And this is part of what XPRIZE does. XPRIZE is helping to create this exponential future. We incentivize advances in exponential technologies, and these are just a few: space, AI, and robotics. There are many, many more. So we have prizes that do things like search the ocean floor, map out the ocean floor. That's our Ocean Discovery Prize. To adult literacy, where we're trying to make sure every adult is educated. To our Ibm Watson Ai Prize, which is going on right now. And this prize is one of the most open prizes we've ever done. The challenge is to use AI for good. Any way you want. Use AI for good. Any domain. And the results to date are really exciting and as varied as anybody could even imagine. Our newest XPRIZE is the Aana Avatar XPRIZE, launched just this year. This is a $10 million 4-year prize to create a robotic avatar. And how this prize came about is a really fascinating story in disruptive tech. The Japanese airlines, All Nippon Airways, asked the question, can we find a way to travel without physically traveling? Can we teleport people? Okay, that's a pretty bold thing for an airline to say. Talk about disruption for an airline. But really what they're talking about is connectivity. How do we better connect people so they don't have to physically get on an airplane and travel? And that is the heart of this Aana Avatar XPRIZE. It's to connect people by allowing them the means to transport their senses and their actions to a distant physical avatar that can interface with people and environments at that distant location. And the person in that avatar feels like they are really and truly there. And people on the end really trust that that's the person who's inhabiting that avatar. So we define avatars as integrated robotic systems that remotely enable us to hear, see, all our senses, interact with those physical environments and people at that remote location in real time. So how is this going to happen? Well, here's the start. Let me see if I can play that video. The robot will basically be controlled by the operator. And imagine that whatever it sees, smells, hears, touches, all of that information is sent back to you as the operator. And this is why we are here at Robotex, because we can't imagine a better audience for helping us realize this vision and to encourage this exponential evolution of robotic avatars advancing humanity into the future. So, are you excited? Because we are. We are very excited to be here. Please come see us at booth 41. Plus, we have a number of workshops that we're doing. Join a team, create a team. Come help us disrupt the future. Thank you.